Hello and welcome to the Straight Shot Podcast. This week we're going to be going over how the concept of work-life balance is dumb, how most people aren't even doing the basics needed to succeed in business, and how Grace is letting her demons out. Stay tuned.
So this week was very busy. We had a new hire join us, so that was really, that adds a layer of busy and excitement. And we also, I think a big part of this week was mistakes. Dale, you sent us a video to the whole group, which, this should be the life hack. If you want your team to actually, because Dale's been talking about this, how he spits out all these recommendations for movies and YouTube videos, books to read, and not many people do. And it's like, how do you get your team to do it? And so he sends a YouTube video at 7 a.m. and he's like, type a 1 in the chat when you've watched it. And lo and behold, most of us typed a 1 and we watched it. It's like accountability. I felt pressure.
Dude, I'm so glad it worked. And I know our producer's listening right now is like, this son of a bitch. True! It was a trick. It was a good trick and it worked. But basically, I kind of thought in my head, I don't know. Let me let's make it competitive, kind of who's the asshole who didn't watch it, and for sure different people had they react differently to different kind of motivations, but it's funny because what actually popped into my head is Twitch streamers that when they want to get engagement from their audience, they'll be like, oh, type F in the chat, this is doomed, or whatever, and people do it. And so I just figured I'd try it. Because in my head, I was like, okay, the only way this doesn't work is if nobody does it. And then I thought, if at least one person responds, it's going to ignite everybody else because there's a clear winner. You know what I mean? I think I'm going to do that for the videos that are I think really, really important. A lot of times I just throw stuff up that's just good knowledge, good education. But in particular, this video, which I guess we can get into, which definitely was a big theme of the week, was all about why mistakes are essential and basically are the key to success. They're the key to winning in the long term. And it's a thing we say a lot. Oh, we're so pro mistakes here. The goal is to just mitigate mistakes over time. We talk about that a lot, even though we're in a emotional art type of field, storytelling. So I thought that the video from Lex Friedman's podcast, I don't know, throw the link up or put a little thumbnail of the video if you can, for people to let them know, this clip I thought really explained it in a very clear, succinct, and kind of data-driven way, which I like. But basically they use the analogy of poker or any finite game. Essentially, the winner is actually just the one who ends up making the least mistakes. And then as a League of Legends fan, they talk about it all the time, just focusing on making less mistakes, and that every game that you play, you can spot new ones and try to fix old ones. And there's always something to look at. What the video talks about is essentially the person who's going to win at poker is the person who it's the delta between your mistakes and your opponents, right? So if you make fewer mistakes than them, theoretically you will win. And so it ends up taking the focus away from it's over time. That's the big thing to remember. So I was actually watching another video about marketing strategies and things like that, where basically it goes back to the whole, this is why a lot of the general advice is just get started. Because essentially you can plan all you want, but there's always going to be mistakes that happen. And the faster you reach them, the faster you fix them. And the faster you fix them, the faster you move forward, right? So
this is why,
Can I go? Well, I just wanted to say that it's also I'm reading the book about Pixar, Creativity Inc., and John Lasseter's had a phrase. I think it's you want to race. It's racing to get to mistakes or something. He's basically you want to make mistakes as fast as you can. I think that's the phrase. And so it's been a very interesting theme, considering we have a lot of decisions that I have to make, and I am the kind of person who is a recovering perfectionist who can get paralyzed by making the right choice. And so I thought it was
very informative. That's why and then you made that point, and then I was like, well, that is what I've been saying about people needing to make mistakes to learn. You had this example that filmmakers, people in film school, well, you're talking about one person in particular, but in film school one option is to go and make a film without, much knowledge, and then make all these mistakes and then learn from them. And another option is to shadow someone or like study good filmmaking and then have the skills and then go and make a film. And then my argument is like, whether either option, when you go and make the film, you're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna learn from them.
I'm happy to dig into this because my argument is there are much, much more effective ways to do that than actually, again, to be very clear, spending a ton of money making a movie. That ends up becoming, I think, a bigger hindrance to the process. That's why my whole thing is make it however you can, but don't make the stakes so high that you need to be that good. Okay, if you go and you're in film school and you're spending $50,000 on a thesis film, which is essentially a school project that you're not good enough to execute on, you're wasting 50 grand. And then you come to me and say, oh, they have to learn? No.
But how do you determine when you're good enough? Like, if you just keep waiting, you're never going to make it.
I'm not saying don't make movies. I'm saying don't make movies for 50 grand. Until you have how do you know when you're good enough? You'll get feedback. Go to YouTube. Play it in festivals. Like, make things, get feedback. You see how we do it here.
Who go to film festivals with their... I mean, I'm not a film person, so I actually don't know, but I'm assuming, like, I've heard of, film students taking their films to film festivals, and, like, good for them, like, and...
Yeah.
They did it.
You want to know if they're good. The market tells you if you're good. If you take your film and you submit it to every film festival on the planet, and none, I'm not saying you don't get into Sundance, that's rare. I'm saying you get into no decent film festivals, none of them. You only get into C-tier, bottom-tier film festivals. That should tell you your film generally, again, that's why you need volume. You need a big enough sample size, is good enough only for that thing. That's what I mean. And that's an example because, again, one film is a bad example. Maybe they didn't get it, which I would never, think that way. But so that's why I think you have to make 3, 4, 5 films. And it's proven that you can make a film with an iPhone and premiere at Sundance, right? Mm-hmm. So at that point, I would be looking for, how do I tell stories? You can just do scenes with actors in a bedroom or on a stage and film the angles, cut it together. When you're doing it, you will make tons of those mistakes. But again, we're talking about the difference between a learning environment and something that has real stakes. So this actually brings me up to another point. So again, the reason why this has been such a big theme this week is we have to make a lot of these end of year decisions. Are we hiring new people? Where are we reinvesting in the company? And I think we'll get into some of the fun discovery calls we've had with all these different marketing and website companies. But essentially, I'm making big business, long-term decisions. Okay. And so I was listening to Gary Vee this week, and somebody asked him, how do you deal with failure? And he basically said people are afraid of failing because of what other people will think of them, which I think is definitely the case when people are getting started out. But I was like, but Gary, I'm not afraid of failing. But if I fail, I now have like 8 people's salaries that I've just you know what I mean? Like their livelihood is at stake. So I guess what I'm realizing is I'm feeling that the responsibility that I have that I've never had in my life before. And it does make these decisions feel, whether they are or not, very important, right? Because if I do make the mistake and I don't know, but if I do happen to make the mistake that ends this company, there goes, 8 people's livelihood. And I do also think like happiness and joy. I think a lot of people really enjoy working at this company. So it weighs on me to not mess it up for their sake.
But it has nothing to do with
I'm free.
What they think?
No. What they think? No. Like, I don't care if my business goes under, I could care less about my friends and family or anybody being like, Dale, you're a failure. No freaking way. I already got to the point in my life where I believe in myself. Like, I know my value to me. So it's definitely not, it's not a matter of that. It's a matter of actually like, oh shit. Like, it's not like if I make a mistake, it's not just me anymore. You know what I mean? Other people are going to feel it. And as you know, I don't like responsibility like that because I'm typically an introvert. I'm a loner. That's why I was a freelancer all these years. By far and away, this has been the biggest hurdle that I think I've had to deal with this year. Like, this stuff has had me up at night. Like, losing having 2 people resign, losing half of our revenue in a matter of like 3 months. Like, Yeah, it hurt, but it's like one of the good things about making mistakes is like it tells you exactly what to do. So like, that's all. So like with that stuff, I was like, okay, well now I know what to do or what to avoid next time. Or genuinely, I thought we were pretty well prepared for it because I was already thinking that way. So like when it happened, we had already done a lot of the heavy lifting just in case something like that happened. So, that's kind of how it goes normally. But here, it's completely unknown areas. Like sales and marketing is actually business stuff that I, like the actual tactics of it and SEO and CRMs and all this stuff that I'm learning now. I had to Google.
It's so funny that I'm learning that so many people, I mean, I saw a video on Instagram today and I was like, they don't tell you about corporate Americas. No one actually knows what they're doing. HR, finance, no one really knows. And that made me feel better because I feel like I like don't know what I'm doing. And it was funny because we had a client come over this week and we were showing him our numbers. So I just put up a spreadsheet that we have of our numbers. And he's like, Grace, are you going to be a CFO one day? Is that your goal? And I'm like, not at all. I'm just putting numbers in a spreadsheet. Like I don't know what I'm doing. And like,
not a client, by the way, a partner. Sorry,
a
just
friend.
To be clear, because we don't show our clients like our internal numbers.
Sorry,
this
yeah,
is like
that's
a business partner of ours that needed to see our financials. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, I don't know. What was I saying?
Well,
yeah.
It's just funny because the guy complimented you saying like, dude, I can't, this is so impressive. I can't believe you got, you've gotten this far or whatever. And to us, we're just like, I guess thank you. I mean, we're just like, doesn't everybody have to do this,
Yeah. The compliment means
maybe they're
nothing.
not. Maybe they're not, and that's why they realize they're not making money. And then, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, wait, maybe that's why 90% of businesses fail at whatever the statistic is. It's probably because they're actually not doing this.
It can't be. Like, how do you not do this? Like, this is like so
I don't know.
Essential.
I'm with you, Grace, but like, I think it's like, I think a part of it is, again, when you fear of the unknown. Maybe they just don't want to put the work in to figure stuff out. Maybe they think that it's kind of, sometimes some people have the mentality like, oh, if I build it, they will come, And it's like, no, bro, you gotta fight for every single customer, every eyeball, every point of retention from your videos, if you're making videos, or for people at my company. Like, I am fighting every day to make sure that everybody here wants to stay here another day. To me, that's one of the most high value things I can do. And I'm super disciplined about it so far. I do not take it for granted. See, these are the things that I think end up happening. Like, I don't take it for granted. I constantly check in on people. I'm doing everything I can because I know that, nothing should be expected, basically. And I think maybe that some people do fall into that trap where it's like, really? And I also don't, but I'm sure you kind of have noticed this too, right? Like at our company, right? Who is the person that you think is doing the most like research and like work and like education?
You
said that like it was a question. Do you believe that or no? Like, who do you actually think is the one that's like trying to learn the most at the company?
Yeah. You.
And that's kind of why I laugh, because I'm also the most experienced at the company.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so. And by the way, we have an incredibly high quality staff of hardworking people. So I'm just going to say it again, right? We have, in my opinion, the people that everybody would want at their company. They work hard. They're engaged. Their brains are on. Okay. They come with suggestions.
We all arrive on time every single day. It's crazy.
Okay. And I feel extremely grateful for it. Even with that said, I am definitely the one that's doing the most education and coming with the most.
What do you mean by
ideas.
Education?
As in like I'm the one that,
or learning?
Yeah, if you look at who is the one at the company that's like, hey, I saw this new thing, we should think about it for our shows. Hey, I watched this video, you should take a look at how to do new titles. Mm-hmm. Literally, it's somebody's job to just do like editing, and no, they're not posting videos on new editing techniques. I am. You know what I mean? So to go back to it, when you're like, how are they not doing this? I'm like, I just don't. That's kind of why I don't think they are sort of putting that time in and doing that education, because I'm not saying that they don't, at least my team. I'm not saying my team doesn't develop their skills like outside of work or whatever, but it is interesting that you would think that, as obsessive as we are as a company, but it's just not really the case.
I feel like that goes into like the work balance or the work-life balance. I call it work balance because I'm workaholic and I have 2 jobs and then I still do other things on the side that I like to do. I mean, they're not work, but it feels like work. But yeah, I feel like because so we've talked a lot about work-life balance at the company and how it's preached to have a work-life balance, but then we've listened to podcast people, experts saying that you don't necessarily need that and what you need are boundaries. Actually, that's the same video as the person.
It's a different video, same podcast though.
Oh, yeah. Same podcast. Yeah. But yeah, so, it's like about setting boundaries and not necessarily like you don't need a work-life balance if you don't want one. If you want one, you have one. Yeah.
I think they were talking about, because I definitely don't want to quote it and get people confused here. Like, nobody should tell you like what to do, right? Like, you should determine what it is, and the benchmark shouldn't be somebody's arbitrary statement of 40 hours or whatever. It should be, are you happy? Do you have energy? Do you feel fulfilled? What do you want to do? I think is the real way to look at it. And so, and I'll just say on this side, like in the beginning of the company, really tried to kind of enforce the work-life balancing, because I thought I was working with, mostly Gen Z. I thought that's the big thing they wanted. And then after working with you guys, I'm like, oh, these guys are actually not like that. A lot of them love to put in the time and love editing and whatever. So I changed my entire rhetoric and speech around it. And instead, I'm trying to find what external things can I do at the company or revolving this community, like fun projects, like what we're doing with the Straight Shot Studios, right? We're launching 2 comics next year. It's the kind of thing where I was like, okay, well, if they want to work, if they love storytelling that much, what can I give them that will be this sort of work balance that you're talking about? That's basically like adjacent fun work that is going to help them develop skills. That's outside of the boundaries of the Straight Shot Post stuff. Sort of pointing people, leaning into who the people are as opposed to forcing whatever kind of ideology there. And I think it's worked so far. It's been working really well.
But the thing that I wanted to say that I realized is, because I feel like I'm very, not strict on, but I value so much my time here and then also my time outside of here. And it's not that I am trying to, I'm not trying to have a work-life balance as much as that I'm trying to have a work balance. And it's kind of like, I want a variety. That's my thing of work and of people. I learned this week. That was what I learned is that I do work on Saturdays and I don't have to. I'm people are like, why do you still work at a restaurant on Saturdays? I don't have to, but I like it. I like the people. They're such characters and I just look around and enjoy the community so much and I get entertained by it and I learn a lot. So yeah, if I was working at a restaurant every day, I've done that before and that gets really tiring and it hurts my body and soul. Mad respect to servers. I've been there and I might be there again. So I'm not being I'm better than that at all. But doing it once a week is so different and it's so enjoyable. And so, yeah, I appreciate that the different community. So, for me, it's a variety of people is really important. So, the ideal scenario for me would be my after hours working, whatever the work be, with different people, different perspectives. I really like that. And then, yeah, I had a moment where I was like, do I like people?
Yeah, bro.
Am I extroverted?
You can't. You guys have no idea how much we fight about the E and the I thing with Grace. It's when
I take the tests, I'm 50-something% introvert, but dude, there's still.
You have your moments like everybody where we want to be quiet, we don't want to talk or whatever. But for sure, I can see, an energy vampire. You just feeding off of the room. It's just a thing. Where
energy vampire.
It's from
I saw that
What We Do in the Shadows. It's the opposite. He sucks your energy, so he's just really boring. He'll he'll talk to you about taxes for an hour, and as you're falling asleep, he's draining your energy. It's funny. But yeah, it's funny in this regard. It's definitely obviously it's a thing, but I think it goes back to the central point of like, as long as you're aware, so that's why it all comes down to self-aware. As long as you're choosing it, see, the problem is people will be doing what you're doing and then they're just complaining the whole time. And then you're like, bro, maybe you should, I don't know, especially if you don't have to, leave one of the jobs that whatever, you know? But if you're like, if you know why you're doing it, you're getting something out of it, and you're like, believe in it or whatever, for whatever reason, like, yeah, why not? I don't see, I think a lot of my views have changed on that. I mean, this week was jam packed. So like, it was definitely a week where I worked. And it's funny because I believe in what the guy says, and Grace knows this. I have hard boundaries, man. When I take my lunch break, it's like, I'm a different dude. I'm a blob trying to force this food down because what do you mean? I literally just did it. You just saw me lay down for an hour.
I guess I did, but I didn't clock that as like boundaries. Because I feel like when people need you, you still like are
That's
there
different.
for
I mean,
them.
of
No, it's,
course,
like,
bro.
constantly.
I'm the owner of the
Okay.
company. You know, come on. Like, let's, you know, I mean, like, realistically, though, when I set up my days, I take like an hour and a half lunch, right? Typically.
That's true. Your lunches are sacred.
Yeah. And it's simply because I'm looking for the greatest sustained output. That's it. And by the way, I've obviously eaten through lunch. I've obviously had my half an hour lunches and jumped into meetings when needed.
Yeah.
The reason why I can do that time and time again is because regularly when I take the time, I reset, and I come in strong for the back half of the day. This kind of just like what I figured out was going to work. That's why I also work out every day before work, because I also saw the correlation between better work and better energy throughout, sustained energy, like throughout the week, if I was working out before the strength training in particular before the day started. So like everything that I figured out, those boundaries that I set up and the things I need to do is for a common goal. And so like guaranteed, if I needed to do the crazy rush, I'm sure you'd know I'm down. Like, all right, fine. This is what it's time to go to battle. We got to put it in. You need every waking moment of my life for 2 weeks. Like, I'm sure that you could see I would be there standing tall, knees not buckling, you know, just like in the zone. But that's because I can manage it when I can. And so, yeah, I work till about 7:30, and then it's a hard ass, like 3-hour gap. And then if you count me listening to an audiobook about business before bed, then technically you can count that, right? But like, it's really, I completely agree, but it's not easy for people to like switch hats. That's the hard part, is like learning how to like step out of CEO mode and step back into like video game anime nerd mode and chill, right? And I think that's actually a big key.
What do you mean? Like people just stay thinking about work? And
Yeah, they
like,
bring
can't
work
let it
home.
go?
Totally.
Oh.
And I mean, like I
That's
said,
something-
this
okay.
month it's been staying with me, and so I know the difference. I know. This was one of the first times this year where I was like, oh, I told you, I was like, I think I'm going through something. It's because this time this fear of failure thing, it is keeping me up at night, and so I know, but I know it's finite. So I'm like, fine, dude, just figure your shit out, because it'll be over by January. You know, and so I think I'm very good at handling the stress and the pressure, just because I have now a good internal routine for how to clock in and clock out.
I feel like the problem of how do we reinvest is objectively less of a problem than, you know, how do we deal with losing half of our revenue?
I
And
mean,
yet
hey,
you're
careful with the word
having
objective, right? Because clearly I have a different perspective on it. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's what's so interesting, that you feel more of the weight when it's about reinvesting.
I think
I guess
that,
because, okay, no, I get it. It's because the choice. When it's like we lost a client, like, okay.
it was out of my control.
there's-
Exactly.
It's out of your control. Yeah.
And
Now
I'm a
it's
stoic.
totally in your control.
So it's easy.
Yes. And
Yes.
you are a slow decision maker.
Yes.
I've learned, I thought I was a really slow decision maker. My friends give me a lot of shit for it, but you are too. So when we're both in a room, it's not that, I feel like I've made so many decisions in the past week, just snap decisions, which I never do. So it's cool. Oh yeah, I went to therapy yesterday, and then what did I say? I said that, I was like, I realized that I like working at my restaurant and I choose to stay. And she was like, look at you making a decision. And I was like, I guess so. Because I mean, a few sessions ago, I said that was one of my big things of I can't make a decision. It's so hard for me. So yeah, that was a positive thing. I mean, I guess this therapy session, it's funny. I was like, life's pretty good. Like, I don't know what to do, what to work on. So we just worked on like being comfortable with being myself in different situations, because I struggle with that. And, you know, I like tailor. I feel like this is very common. Like people pleasers, you know, tailoring your personality for different people. So we had a talk, right? Like a few weeks ago about me bottling things up, and because that is how I cope. I, you know, have issues with, and then I just don't bring them up, and then I like make them, catastrophize them in my brain, and I'm like, oh my god, this is not gonna work out. This person is gonna like completely shun me, and I can't open my mouth ever. That's my thought process. And then you like forced it out of me in the best way, which is always the best. Like my best friends always force it out of me, and they're like, you gotta stop doing this. And then I'm slowly learning. So I am learning to not bottle things up and bring them up when I can. Of course not if it's, you know, like in the middle of a client meeting or something, I'm not gonna bring it up. But yeah, so this week I've been like consciously, if something pisses me off, I'm like, let me just be angry. And so I felt like so mean this week. I remember specifically we were doing the invoice thing, or we were building quotes for clients. And then one of the factors that really added to it is I couldn't see your face. We were on Google Meet and I was at home and I was on another tab showing you. And you were like, we should do this. We should do this. Why don't you do it like this? And then I was like really defensive. I was like, what do you mean? Like, and you're like, whoa, like, am I being rude? What's up? And then I was like, oh my god, yeah. I didn't realize. I was like, I stepped back and I was like, oh, I was feeling like I was being attacked, but I literally was not. That was all me feeling attacked. So then, yeah, like being called out was great, and that made me like have that learning moment. But yeah, all week I've been trying to be conscious of it, and I feel mean sometimes, but then at the end of the day, you were like, you seem very loose this week. So then, like, relaxed this week.
I don't think anybody, I doubt, that's what's funny about it is like, you know, so much of it is what you think in your head, right? Like,
yeah.
It's kind of like one of our philosophies here, which is like the audience is the one who actually is going to tell you what the thing is, whether it was good or bad. So like, yeah, certainly people could think I'm angry, but it's all contextual, right? And so like, yeah, I definitely didn't think you were ever being like mean to me this week, and I don't think anybody at the company would say that. But I definitely did see a free, I don't know, some agency maybe, or some freeness, which again, I think I feel like if people watched somehow in years from now, if they watch this whole podcast journey thing, I think they're going to really see a shift from like reactivity to proactivity generally. Like we're just slowly getting more and more control.
Company?
Yeah, but us as people in the company too. Like why I'm struggling now is this is a new thing. I feel the pressure of the responsibility that I have as the owner of a company, and I know that once I figure this thing out, the next time it comes, it won't be nearly as scary, right? Mm-hmm. Which I do want to shout out on that note is like I realized what you need early on, which it's funny because I haven't needed this in a while, but it was validation. It's crazy because I'm the kind of person that like I believe in myself, I put my head down or whatever. But we had a call. Shout out to AJ for taking this incredible call with us. He's another entrepreneur, way more experienced than me, multiple companies all around the world. And dude, he said EBITDA to me, and I didn't even know what EBITDA means, bro. And I was like Googling it on the call, just trying to keep my cool. And if he ever sees this, he can laugh about it. But he basically listened to what we had to say, listened to where we are, and then he just said, dude, he made sure to make sure it was super clear. He's like, dude, you guys are doing great. And just that single thing for 3 years I've been in the dark, you know, just that alone, all of a sudden, I was like, oh my, I just felt freedom, you know, because I don't really know. I don't know. I've never had nothing to compare it to. I have, you know, it's like my best guess at everything. And so literally just having an expert, someone who I respect, say, and it's funny because when I go back, that's exactly what happened with filmmaking in the beginning. It's like you asked, how do you know you're good, right? Like, how do you build that up? Well, for me, a big part of it was most compliments don't matter, but if somebody that I respect has real feedback for me, good or bad, it's just, it's a whole different level for me. And so what it took was, it was my mentor, Rose Trochet, who I showed her a film that I had shot. And I had already worked with her on the editing side or whatever. And all she had said to me was, don't stop. That was all I needed, man. It was just 2 words, bro. And I was like, okay. She would not have led me down the wrong path, you know? And all it had to mean even was, you have the potential, don't stop. That was it. Right. And I realized, like, oh my God, that's kind of what I just got again now, 7-8 years later, in a completely different field. That made me go, all right, good. So all of a sudden now I'm going to he's like, clear, you are doing the right things, you know, and it sounds like you have the right mindset. And then additionally, also, given our situation, gave us incredible advice about what's the right steps to take and how to make the most out of this reinvestment. And I felt after that call this week, just so fucking ready to go. I was so pumped up and I realized, wow, this is why positive reinforcement is good at times, you know? And I'm bad at taking and giving compliments, but like, I just don't see it as a compliment from him, I guess. That's the thing, is like, I'm more looking for what's a fact. Like, to me, a compliment is just like a feelings-based thing. But when it came from him, or when it comes from these people who I think are really, really, really going to be honest with you, it felt more like a statement, which is way more valuable. Like, this is a data point, as in, the things that you were doing, do not stop doing them. Okay, good. Because if he said change, I would have changed, right? So he's like, keep these things and then do this with your next steps. And I was like, I owe that guy money. Like, I really wanted to call him up. He doesn't need my money, so I don't even know what I could do to make him, to give back the value that he had
at the end of the
me.
call, you were like, anything we can give you, like, we'll edit a video.
I was like, bro, whatever I can do to help you, if our expertise and our mastery is of any value to you, this is definitely a time where I'm like, I owe this person. Like, I don't even know if they realize how impactful that hour they gave me was. And so it was definitely a huge part of the week. So yeah. This has been a kind of a spicy episode. I think you took it in some places I wasn't really expecting either, Grace.
I did.
Well, you know, I'm glad we have a new little system where, like, she's kind of saving things for the podcast that, like, because we talk a lot.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun to sort of get some of this stuff out here. I kind of want to wrap this one up because I do want to talk about the discovery calls. So basically,
you do? Okay.
Yeah, because I think that it's important that people kind of, from a tactical perspective, right? So we're a service business. We're used to selling, right? We're used to having to connect with our clients. And now we have some money to reinvest in the company. So we're looking at, website redesigns, branding, marketing strategies, etc. And talking about this, me being paralyzed with choice, I just sent Grace on it. I said, just set up as many calls with you can, because I'm the kind of person that I'll do the obnoxious shopping. Like, I will be on their website for hours and hours. And I realized that nobody's going to be good enough for me. So I might as well just talk to them and just get that whole thing and honestly, it worked out great. If you guys have that issue, get yourselves an assistant or anybody. I would literally just pay a freelancer to be like, set all these things up, do all of the research part. Here's some rough parameters, because that part I think I would have hated it, been stressed, been angry, the whole nine. And here it was just like, oh, there's a call on my calendar. Let's jump in.
Honestly, for me too, it was much smoother than, because at first I thought I had to take the calls too. So that's like many steps of, applying. I apply and send our email information, and I've been trying to give as much context up front as I can to make this speedier. And I had a copy and pasted thing of all the questions we've been asked in previous discovery calls, and I put that, but then there's always an email back, and then questions there, and then there's a setting up the call. And then after to go and do the call, that's a lot of steps. And so it was really nice to only be in charge of, setting it up. And then that's you got it on this end too. So
oh, dude, I love that. Yeah, it's one of the, it's really, you're probably right.
It's like a setup.
It's so,
right?
Yeah. Don't know. That was funny. That was volleyball.
That was a volleyball. This is
maybe basketball.
Yeah. This is not a
So basically, yeah. So basically, what I wanted to say is that it's just interesting to be on the other side. like we're being sold. And I know we gave these guys kind of a wild ride on some of our calls because, and I guess it goes back to this whole theme of like, wait, so how are other people doing this thing? Because we definitely had these sales agents just like, I don't know, kind of in a weird way, like really engaged with us and like wanting to work with us. We had one guy literally stop the call just to be like, both guys actually said, you guys are like amazing fits for us. Like brand wise, we're the kind of people we want to work with. Yes, it could be bullshit, but but like I see this all the time. I kind of know the difference between bullshit and like when the guy starts cursing along with me on the call and he's telling me about his family. Like we got sold hard at the convention a couple weeks ago.
NAB.
Yes, and this one was like, the guys were like, oh my God, I'm 8 minutes late to my next call, my bad, you know? And we're like, all right, dude, peace, you know? So there was definitely something fun happening there, and we kind of came out going, well, I already know I'm definitely a little off the cuff and a little unique, but also I was like, are people not taking this thing as seriously as we are? Are they not coming as prepared as we are? Like, what's going on here?
One of the sales guys straight up was like, usually, you know, this is so refreshing to work with, to talk to you guys. Usually we have people who are just like, yeah, we want to boost our revenue and that's it. So I don't know. I guess we are unique. I don't know. People,
that seems to be this theme of this week. It's just like 6 different people are, now that we've been insulated, just like heads down doing the work. And now we're coming up to look for different kind of partners. And I think we're kind of realizing that culturally, maybe it's the way we are communicating, you know, maybe it's that we're definitely like why focus is what people have been telling me. We're mission focused or whatever. Like people are definitely connecting with what we have as far as brand goes and personalities in a ways that I like never thought. Like everything, the call with AJ, I thought that we had a great connection. All these sales calls, people are really kind of connecting with us, and it feels like they genuinely want to help us, you know, and not like they're just like phoning it in also, because that's what I'm afraid of, right? Because I know when we go and help somebody, we're on, you know, they get 100%, and I'm always like, these bigger companies are not going to be able to do that, you know. We'll see.
And I had that moment when we were talking to one of our clients too, this week, and they were talking about, I don't know how to phrase it, not like an issue with one of their staff members not stepping it up when they had to, you know, like the staff had been complaining about how they want to do more, and so then the company was like, okay, here's more, and then the person couldn't step up and the person was complaining, and I realized, I was like, oh, that's what Dale's talking about when he always tells us, you know, like, you got it easy now, but sometimes you got to step it up, and that's normal. And, you know, this is my first job, so this kind of job, so I had no idea what I've never experienced another culture. So then when I was hearing that, it made me really appreciate the culture here, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, and you can see now on both sides.
I can see it happening.
Mistakes,
and I'm not mad at, I feel bad
judgment
for both. Like, it's, they're both, it's just a situation about mixed expectations, basically.
Totally.
Yeah,
and so of course I get off the call and I'm saying, and we had this nice discussion about, like, you know, the environment here. We try to maintain a high enough standard that no other individual, like, we care about each other. We try so hard here that there's no client or nobody that can shake us, you know? And I know why that's important. I've been in all those situations. I've been yelled at in front of the crew before. I've been fired on the spot for all sorts of different things, emotional things. And you can see there's, like, in a situation like that, it's just these two individuals don't know how to connect with each other and have it's not, look, when I look at it, it's like, okay, this issue happened. It's not because of that moment. It's because of how you dealt with things leading up to that moment. Like, were you prepared? So to come back to it, when we had our big rough patch a couple of weeks ago, I was already emotionally prepared. That's why it didn't hit me as hard. Whereas this thing came at me I wasn't thinking. Like, all of a sudden I'm here and I have to do it. That's going to be tough for anybody. And of course, like, be careful what you wish for is the big lesson for those who are like employees. And that's why we have transparency. We just shifted our core value from honesty to transparency. But, like, Essentially, this is why we encourage everybody. You need to be, the problem with honesty is you must be honest with yourself first. That is the biggest part of it. Can you handle, yes, a lot of people struggle with that, right? Can you handle what you're asking for? Like, you think it's cool. A lot of people think being a business owner is cool. You're next to me, and the people that are with me at this company, nobody wants my job because I let them know what it actually is, you know? I'm transparent about that so that if they do want to take those steps, they know what's happening. And we'll get into this in another podcast episode, but I just went into this about acting also. So if anybody wants to hear my thoughts about acting and why I think it's very difficult for young people because there's a big lack of transparency in that field, I think, coming into it. I'm happy to talk about that in a future episode. Let us know in the comments. But yeah, I thought it would be really good to just touch on how, I don't even know if we actually summed up why mistakes are actually essential, now that I think about it. So maybe we'll button this by really explaining the whole point and why I've been able to sort of come to terms with making these big decisions. I'm not staying up at night about it anymore. And so to sum it up, mistakes are unavoidable. So the faster you run into them, the faster you figure out what to fix. And essentially, as we've kind of discovered, not everybody is actually trying to fix them that fast. They're not actually doing all the things that you're supposed to do. And so really, as long as... So like the example I saw in the podcast this is a different podcast from the future. They were saying, okay, so like you'll give a scenario of like there's a bear that's coming after you. This is a problem at your company or whatever. And a lot of people, so if a bear was coming after you in the woods, you would just start running and then figure it out as you're running, right? Whereas a company, for some reason, when a bear is trying to attack them, they're like, wait, we need about 1 year of planning. We need to like see all the data and aggregate this. You know what I mean? And he's like, you should just think of it the same way. Just start moving. And as you're moving, you will inevitably figure it out because some things will work, some things won't. And so I think the shift in my head is, for me to remember, like for myself, like, bro, I would never do something that would jeopardize the company, right? So these decisions, whether they work or they don't, aren't going to have the ramifications that I fear. And so I need to relieve that part of it and recognize that I'm doing the things that any good entrepreneur would do. And if they don't work, then it tells me what to do, basically. And that is just as valuable. So either way, it's a win because we're going to find out what we have to do next. And I was like, okay, if you think about it that way, my biggest issue, which I think is similar to a lot of people, is that level of uncertainty. And that's what's funny. You get to certainty either way. Either you get it right or you get it wrong, which then gives you certainty on how to do it right. But the uncertainty is where we get stuck there. It's kind of counterintuitive, right? Like the way to get what you want is actually to just mess it up. And then you know exactly how to fix it. And now you're good to go. And all of a sudden I thought, this week it kind of freed me. So to sort of sum it all up, go out there, make mistakes, and then fix them. And you will be shocked how far ahead you will be just by doing that alone. And there you have it. Let's wrap this bad boy up. We'll do the hack of the week. We'll do the hack of the week again for clarity. I know, but I want to make sure it's crystal clear, everybody. Your hack of the week is if you're trying to get people to engage, it's like polling. Polling super OP on YouTube, by the way. Polls, bro. Your audience is literally going to tell you what they want to see. But make sure that you have some form of engagement. So the polling will have voting. And the moment one person votes, more people are incited to vote because they're like, well, that person's wrong or whatever. So you're actually getting them to work with or against each other. And in this case, I have now gotten most of my company to watch the videos that I want them to watch by just having them simply type 1 in the chat. And lo and behold, it worked like a charm. And now I don't know what other things will come up next. But remember that. It's a great life hack for the week if you guys want engagement from your people. Like try it with your friends. You know what I mean? And the ones who don't answer, you just call them out, and I think that'll help. All right. Question of the day. Who asked first last time?
You did. So I'll ask. I'll ask something lighthearted. What is the go-to, like if you could only choose one for the rest of your life, like the go-to ice cream flavor? Because I learned that you like ice cream this week. I didn't know that you like had this like little passion for ice cream.
Yeah, I got my little stash now that I'm bulking again. Which reminds me, we got to pick up some more. So I would say of the it's tough. It's really tough that you did that because I'm in a spot. I would say if it was like generic, right? Like from anywhere, it's probably cookies and cream.
That's good.
Okay, but I think that when I have the craving and when it's right,
Cookie dough?
pistachio.
Pistachio? Yeah. Ice cream?
I actually hate cookie dough. And
Not
all
gelato?
y'all come after me, bro. Come after me with the cookie dough. I hate cookie dough, bro. Hate it.
The little balls.
Ugh.
Wait, what's in your fridge? I thought that was cookie dough.
There is some cookie pieces, but it's not dough. It's like finished cookie, chocolate chip cookie.
Cooked cookie.
If that makes sense. Yeah. And that's just what it was.
Wow.
I would have done cookies and cream. Yeah.
Pistachio?
And then just to be clear on the hierarchy of like chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry, I actually like strawberry.
Huh.
I know. And then vanilla, and I don't like chocolate at all. Can you believe that?
No, chocolate ice cream hate is pretty common. Like, people are like, eat chocolate, not ice cream. At that point, that's like a common thing that people say.
Yeah.
That I've heard. So I get that. That's fair. But like strawberry being number one, I find that so odd.
Me too.
It's
Just,
like a
I
odd
do
choice,
too.
But
So yeah, but I think I would say cookies and cream, and then pistachio does have a special spot for me.
interesting. I would go pistachio gelato, but not pistachio ice cream. So that's interesting.
Very interesting.
Okay. All right. Cool.
So for you, Grace, I don't know where I want to go this week.
I'm scared. I'm really scared.
I mean,
before this.
it's coming right off the top of my head, Of all of the languages you speak, which one is your favorite? Which one has the best curses? Which one has the best curses?
Oh.
Which one do you like to tell people? Yeah, which one do you like getting angry with?
Okay, which language I like getting angry with?
And
definitely
just
not
like,
Japanese.
Can you tell them all the languages you speak? Because
I speak.
Romanian
Wait. Okay, I
is
speak.
like weird. Yeah.
I speak English. This is an order of proficiency in speaking: English, Japanese, Spanish, Portuguese, a little bit of Romanian. So,
Yeah.
honestly,
which one gives you the heat?
I have to say Romanian. I know that's so weird.
Oh my god.
But okay, no, it's like
that.
a tie between English and Romanian, because first of all, Japanese is like not at all, because Japanese, I was talking about this with someone. I'm teaching someone at my job Japanese. He's like, I want to learn Japanese, and he's like, what are the curse words? I'm like, there aren't really curse words. They're like pretty
proper?
gentle with it.
Yeah.
It's pretty proper. When they say the F word, they say it in a Japanese accent, which loses its like oomph that you have in English. And then I guess it depends on my mood. Of like, Portuguese can get pretty fun because it's so like soap opera-y, and like you go like, "Por que você tá fazendo isso? Não pode." It's like very like that, and so that can be fun too, but that feels more whiny to me personally. And then I actually don't really know curses in Spanish because I learned Spanish so properly.
What?
Like, I know them, like when I hear them I know them, but like I never have gone to say them for myself. Like, I never go to curse in Spanish, even though I'm sure it's so good. I've like all my Hispanic friends are like, cursing in Spanish is the best, and I'm sure it's the best. But I have to say Romanian because I grew up all of high school spending time in my Romanian friend's house, and I have never heard fighting like their parents. Her parents fight so much, and I went on a trip with them to Italy, and it's hilarious. This is like my editing debut, video editing debut, where I made a video of our trip to Italy, and like the first half is like all picturesque and like what you expect it to be, and the second half is just like that, but with the real audio, with the original audio, with all the yelling in the background. It's hilarious. I learned so many Romanian. Yeah, dude. And then we watched it all together after we came back from Italy. The parents were like so embarrassed. But yeah, I know so many. And the curses in Romanian are like the curse will be like, it's all about the mother. It's always like, your mother's blah blah blah. And like,
oh my god,
your mother,
yeah.
blah blah blah. Yeah, it's hilarious. So, and then like it like the like yeah, you know, it's like, ugh. It's like all in the front. So I love
that Eastern European, like, they're hardcore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, that ended up being a good one. Thank you very much, Grace. All right, fam. You know what to do. Do the right thing, like, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Work hard, be nice, and keep changing. Peace, everybody.